Microphone's on. Okay, being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kettering,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Weiss,
Here.
Hoffman,
Here.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion for an approval of last minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak at this time about anything? State your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Matt Evans. I live at 31120 435th Avenue. There's a checklist coming up for RV parks tonight. I submitted a checklist like 2 weeks ago. That was this checklist. I'd like to answer questions or any suggestions that I could make to, make sure everybody does everything right pretty much from here on out. I'd love to help out. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment for right now. Move a motion to approve the agenda or any additions or changes.
So moved.
I'll second.
was that Christie?
Motion by Kettering, second by Schultz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll do the conflict of interest declarations. Kathy, we'll start with you.
No.
Dennis Michael, no.
Don Kettering, no.
Sherry Hoffman, no. Christy Schultz, none.
We have to wait for 7:05. Okay,
If you want to just put me as an abstain on the approval of the minutes because I was sick last month and wasn't there. Just to be proper.
thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
We have to wait for 7:05. That's the rule.
Bill said it's okay.
I know, I'm watching the little clock on the screen. Okay, being 7:05, first item on the agenda is concrete materials conditional use permit Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to mine gravel from an agricultural district per Article 5, Section 507. Said property is legally described as the northeast quarter and southeast quarter, Section 18, Township 94, north of Range 55, west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. There's someone here to speak for Concrete Materials. Please state your name, please.
Andy Haas with Concrete Materials. And as requested last time by the board, the planning commission board, there's a couple of things you guys wanted us to fulfill. So on the haul road agreement, we negotiated and came with agreement with the Mission Hill Township on the haul road agreement, which was voted on and approved by the board, and both parties accepted. The entrance into the Frick property, there was some questions on that. So we went out there, looked, Daryl Nelson, Dave Nelson, Justin, John, and I from Concrete Materials. The township was also out there after the fact. We came with the game plan with 441st going north of 306 being vacated, so that the property reverts back to the Frick family. So there is enough room there for us to utilize that old entrance on the Frick property as an entrance. So it's on top of the hill. So ease of visibility and everything is still good. So we'll come off of that, going north, they would sneak back onto all 100% Frick property, which on the west side of the tree line. Then it'll go down to the proposed mine site. Excuse me. Then another concern last month was the pipe culvert down by Daryl Nelson's property. So the township discussed it. They made a motion to replace that culvert since it's liability to the citizens, the general public. So the township is looking at, or made a motion and voted to replace that culvert, which was a concern. Then the fourth item, if I remember right, was the BY electric power line. So I contacted Ken Sardo with BY. He's the operations manager for BY Electric. His crew went out and located it, and they sent a letter. I think you guys have a copy of that, saying it does go down the road, but is according to their standards, NESE code depth 36 inches or deeper. And he says our equipment will not damage that power cable. So I think that was the main topics of the last month meeting, if I remember right.
Thank you.
Any other
And
questions?
I think you covered everything we talked about, I think, Andy, on that, so. Is there any comment from the crowd out here on the issue that we're looking at here?
Good evening, Lauren Nelson. I live at 306th Street, that corner where you're talking about the turnoff. I'm not against a gravel pit. I'm not here to say I'm against it because, you know, the noise, the dust. I mean, I've been dealing with Kellen's gravel pit for 27 years now, and none of that bothers me. What really concerns me again is that intersection. Like I said before, 306th Street is the bypass for Yankton. And just even today, I was sitting at my dining room table and a car goes flying by from the east going west. And the other day, I wouldn't say the other day, about a couple of weeks ago, I pull out of my driveway, look both ways, pull out of my driveway, get to that intersection. I have a pickup on my rear end already. I don't know where they came from. And so my concern is the intersection and where the entrance to that gravel pit is going to be right there. Just the traffic that's on there constantly. Also to the truck drivers, it's not like I asked my husband today, you know, are all these truck drivers that are coming in there employees of Concrete Materials, so there can be some kind of training or something can be done to, you know, to say, hey, you know, you got to be careful, you got to watch out, you know, when you go down that hill. And I'm under the assumption that no, that these are truck drivers coming from different companies, different places. I'm under the assumption. So it's not like you can do some training there. You know, again, I look at that intersection, it's going down that valley, coming back up. It's just, you just don't see what's coming from the east. You know, it would be great if that entrance to that for the concrete materials pit could be moved to the west. You know, you move it to the west, you know, I don't know how many feet that would be, how many yards, and you're up on a hill and you can see beautifully what's coming from the east. They can see you coming from the west. And I guess I just don't see why that entrance cannot be moved farther west to somewhere that's a little bit safer for the traffic there.
Daryl Nelson, 306th Street. Well, we've done a lot of talking and made some progress since the last meeting, but I guess 2 weeks ago when we met out there on a Monday night, I know we had 3 township board members, me, my brother, and Jim Elson, and then Cliff Madsen, and all 7 of us were encouraging them to move the ingress to what we call the pasture gate, which is about 400 or 500 feet west of there. Same thing Lauren was talking about. We think it's a much better place for the trucks to go in and out from visibility being level and everything. But you guys were talking the previous meeting, putting like warning signs somewhere along the way. And I mean, even when you do that, they're kind of almost some admission there that they recognize there's a little danger at that intersection, if you know what I mean. And I guess the one thing that I was hoping would got into the road haul agreement, but it didn't get in there, we discussed it to all ends that night at Mission Hill, was some way of somebody telling them if we get muddy conditions in the spring, and I know this happened in 2019 and happened to us back in 1993, I believe, or possibly 94, that the gravel trucks tore up the roads so bad that it could or would hinder our livestock operation. I mean, people need to be able to get in and out of their houses, emergency vehicles. And even here, if you get down to your findings of facts, you get down to 5A, one of the criteria is access in case of fire or catastrophe. I don't know if there's any way planning and zoning can make some kind of a conditional use or provision that somebody can tell these guys when they got to lay off. So I guess that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Andy, would you like to talk about any of these issues?
So for the intersection, as Lauren brought up, it was established as a township road prior. That's why we utilize that intersection. If we move it west, will we gain anything? I don't know if we will or not, but this is a prior intersection to the township. That's why we utilize that. We want to utilize that road. It's the same elevation as everything else there. It comes to a TES. We'll put the warning signs up like we did on Highway 81 on Powder Valley, trucks entering. The proper signage will be there, wherever the township or the county will like to put up. So like I said, I think that's the safest area we can utilize right now is the actual four-way intersection that was pre-existing. And Daryl, like when you said, we talked about at the township meeting, who's going to shut us down. I think the township said that it's their responsibility to let us know if the road's incompatible and so forth. We've had that conversation at the township meeting. And if the township calls us and they say, hey, you can't haul today, we're going to obey by it. We do with the counties day in and day out, come frost for the road conditions, the winter to spring road limits, and we obey by those. Like I said, and if Justin or I or John don't think it's incompatible, we're not going to haul trucks on it. You know, like I said, I'm part of the fire department, so I know if we can get in or out. If I don't think it's safe for our trucks or the general public, we're not going to haul on those roads. That's why I said we'll haul gravel to Velix for those off seasons, middle of winter time, if the road conditions don't warrant us driving up and down those roads.
Thank you.
Is a 3-way or a 4-way stop possibility that would at least slow down the traffic?
If the township and the counties would warrant that or request that, that's something we could do, yes.
You know, that might be one way to slow things down and make things a little bit safer.
Yep, like I said, and we can't, Pack Materials personally can't put those up there. It's gotta come from either
Well,
township or
I
county.
understand that, but I'm just saying
but
as a
yes.
suggestion,
I agree. Like I said, if we put stop signs up there, that is one way to
regulate the traffic.
regulate the traffic flow, yes. Yep.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Back to three-way stop. If it's, you know, if it's acceptable to you to put a couple, three
Now that-
stop signs up, and that would slow the traffic down and maybe make things a little bit safer for everyone.
I think Susie's got a good idea.
That's my suggestion.
Hey, I need you to come up to the mic, please. We're allowing a little leeway here, but
Alan Ferris, 306th Street. Currently, there's a sign that says the speed limit on that road is 55 miles per hour. So when people travel that road, they think 55, I can go as fast as I want, up to 55. And I do promise you that if you go 55, you'll end up in the ditch. I think if the sign said 35, even if people see 35, they're likely to naturally drive slower than the currently posted 55. Because in their mind, they think 55. Thank you.
I think that becomes an issue of the township board have jurisdiction on that, Dan, or is that a county regulation?
Well, we addressed that and established.
Just don't run over each other, just.
So part of the hauler agreement with the township, we did put in there 35-mile-per-hour.
I
speed
see
limit.
that, yeah.
We talked to the township and they were gonna replace or make the speed limit 35 miles per hour on that gravel road on 306.
Okay.
With that.
Daryl,
Back to the topic of the three-way stop sign, there's a real problem with that for eastbound traffic. They'll be stopping on about an 8% grade with no visibility going beyond. It's a weird intersection, let's put it that way. And the trucks are almost gonna have to, like I say, this intersection, I explained this last meeting. The trucks are almost gonna have to make their decision 400 foot back, whether they're gonna stop and wait for oncoming traffic. Because they're gonna be driving a blind spot for about 400 feet. And if they're gonna go, they can't stop. They're gonna have to roll in there, make their left turn. The empty truck's coming from the west. So, and that should be a township decision.
right,
I could potentially see one stop sign for the westbound traffic there. And the northbound traffic's already got a yield sign there. There's some visibility problems there. So that's something, I don't know whether it'd work or not. And it's back to what, somewhere along the line, I'd like to see, Andy. I mean, you're promising to stop the trucks from going on wet roads, but we need it in writing somewhere. Because I mean, you guys are all part of a corporate world, you know, and I mean, so 8 years down the road, somebody, a whole different cast.
we just we gotta kind of stick with the issue here,
Right.
so let's get it back.
Okay,
But I think, I don't know, without comment probably from the highway superintendent or something, like even the township board, about what could be done there to make it safer. I know that the pit on the Utica Road, they're west of the Valley residence, not the pit, the one that goes back into Marquardt, has the same issue because the building site blocks the view from any traffic coming. And if they kind of commit from when they're back on the road, it can see what's coming from the east. And that's a really bad grade to stop at also. And there's been a lot of times where there's been really close calls in that intersection there.
Well, that's why I said three-way stop. North, south, and west. Good stop.
But the problem is
The,
like,
the car traffic, the truck, you know,
yeah,
it's just a thought. I understand that trucks need momentum to get up a hill and all of that.
Any other comment? Okay, I'm gonna close all the public comment. We're gonna discuss it amongst the board, what your pleasures are, what you think that we can, if you want to place other conditions on it. If you want to, they provided the information that we asked for at the last meeting as far as the BY electric, the road haul agreement with the township. Sounds like the township is willing to replace the culvert under the road, which was an issue, and probably widen the road at that point, because that's kind of a bad spot right down in that draw there for two trucks to meet. We have to look at getting the traffic slowed down. Really responsible about closing the road if there's an issue, it starts to get soft or there becomes a problem, some other problem. I think you look like, from what's on this issue, they're mitigating the dust is, hopefully we don't have that forever, but any other insight or questions or thoughts?
Mr. Hatchesky is here if you wanted to put any input in or not. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Dan Hatchesky, representing Mission Hill Township North. And I think what Andy, when we were up there and met at that meeting, I think what we had talked about was utilizing the old section line, the frick half of the section line is going approximately 85 yards. That way, then they could gate it going north and south, and it would eliminate the people from going down that road. We'd put a road close sign at the end, and that would allow for trucks that were coming in there to be off the road in the 85 yards, I should say. 85 yards should be, and have two trucks parked side by side, or even if you could get four trucks in there. I guess that was kind of our thought. Chris Frick said he would be here tonight. He's not here. Some of this stuff hinges on too, the fact that they'll clean the trees out of the right of way. It's the cost of that. It's a box cement culvert. It isn't a steel culvert we're replacing. And our cost in our township is going to be in that $35,000 range, is there any money available through the county to help us out with that? There has to be about 2,000 ton of dirt being brought in there at that point, because the road is sloughing off there. Them trees have to be taken out, and the Fricks, Chris said at the township meeting that he would provide the dirt, the hillside behind it, and they would bring it in with a scraper and a dozer and build that up and take the old cement culvert out and use that at the bottom as riprap to hold that dirt from sloughing off that hill. So, it's a lot of things have to come together here for this all to work. And I'm kind of disappointed Chris ain't here tonight to back what we had talked about with the township board up. It's his expense to remove the trees from the right of way, and it's just some of the things. I don't know if you have any other questions. I'd be
Well, what do
happy
you
to
think
answer.
of a three-way stop? Do you think that would? be
Well,
a
I understand what you're
benefit?
doing. The eastbound traffic to go up that incline, like Daryl had said, you don't want to slow them up. So
Right,
but
that's
that's why we had talked
No.
about the 85 yards is to get them off the road
Mhm.
and have enough access space there for them to park. And that was a concern of Jim Elson that night, his daughter coming home or going from school or whatever, that she going east to their house, that she would be limited on visibility. But if the trucks are off the road, that would sure help out. And as far as, I don't know, Andy, do you have an engineered plan of how you were going to grade that and with the culvert? I didn't, you're working on. Technically, yep, and they'd have to figure out. Yeah. So,
Would it be a thought anyway, just kind of aware of the area, if you put two stop signs up
Right.
from the stop sign coming from the east to stop to go west, which would protect the entrance to the driveway. And then one off of
The west,
430,
441
east
441,
going
whatever the-
west.
to the west.
but if you had a stop sign facing east So the traffic coming from the east had to stop. And the traffic coming down 441 had to stop. Because like the three-way stop thing's gonna be tough because of the,
And who my knowledge is a township supervisor. Do we have to have an engineer study done for this, or how do you go about that? I don't know. I mean, can we just do that, or do we
you
have to
go
consult
through the county
somebody?
probably to find out something on that, I guess, or we have.
Yeah, I
no
just don't know the
legal
answer to
counsel
that.
here, so I don't know.
You know, their Clark Engineering previously put up the signs the way it was engineered for.
Right.
And so, you know, are we in violation there or something? I don't know.
Well, I think you're trying to prevent a problem. So, I mean, doing a study wouldn't do any good because that safety risk doesn't exist at the moment. Do you
Who
know
has
what I
the
mean?
authority to do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
can't
know
answer
that
you.
either. You know, I don't want to be as a township supervisor. Oh yeah, let's put up a stop sign, then come to find out we're at fault and enter in some sort of litigation, you know,
I understand your concern,
so.
but I mean, I don't see that it would hurt anything. I
yeah.
understand your concern from a legal point of view, and I would think that our state's attorney could give us some guidance on that. But
Yeah, and I understand what Dennis is saying, stop the traffic east that are headed west, you know, with a
Mhm.
stop sign, and then you'd have to have stop sign coming out entering 306th Street. And there is a yield sign correct there coming from on Penina. So,
That, you mentioned about your other, the signage that's on there now where we have the 55 mile an hour speed limit on gravel road. And if you put like caution trucks entering and things like that. So is that fall into the same realm of jurisdiction as far as the stop sign?
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you start regulating
Are we allowed to
traffic,
do that?
who
Who has the authority? to
who
do
has
that?
the
Let's
authority?
ask Gary.
I would, I'd contact your township association attorney. They should be able to give you that direction.
This is not totally unlike that issue that was on the commission 2 weeks ago,
Exactly.
over by Tabor.
The association.
And they were
does have an
allowing-
attorney.
They were allowing the county the option to do those things.
Something we can check into.
Well, I understand totally the liability concern from the township thing. If you do something and there is an issue or something happens and then it does, but I don't think if you could not disrupt the traffic in and out of the pit area because of the area where it's going to go in, but control what was coming from the east or off of 441 pulling into that truck traffic.
So that's what you're thinking, two stop signs or?
Well, I'm just
An
trying to
idea.
slow the traffic down right there. And that, you can put a 35 mile an hour speed limit, but that's like the 30 mile an hour speed limit coming into Yankton when you get past it 45 miles an hour by McDonald's. So the sign don't mean anything. But if they have to come to a stop, and if the sheriff sits out there for about 2 days and gets everybody's attention, they'll figure out, well, you got to stop.
Why would you stop them coming out of the pit?
No, I'm not
That's not what we
stopping
said.
coming out of the pit.
You're not.
I'm stopping on 306, coming from the east about where Daryl's bin site is.
Yeah.
eastbound traffic and northbound traffic.
Just only westbound
northbound.
traffic and northbound traffic. Not eastbound traffic. It's kind of like Valley View. For a while, they had a stop sign there years ago and slowed everybody down, but it was only from one side. So I don't know. It's something to, I think our biggest issue here is safety. Road safety is the biggest issue for everybody. And, it was brought up earlier about not all the truck drivers are going to be concrete material operators. So as far as having, a training thing, so it comes down to signage and enforcement. At some point, and you guys have the ability to, when trucks come in, I know I get chewed out once in a while if I drive into the pit too fast, but they, you have the ability to at least warn them coming, when they come in there to pay attention to the signs because they will be policed. So,
Is the only issue that we're dealing with right now, the question of the stop sign. I hate coming back and forth with these guys. I want to tell them what they need to do and let that be the last thing on the agenda. Gary, can you work with Dan and call the township committee people together and get that discussion so that it could be presented at our next county commission meeting? So we could make a motion today to approve or disapprove based on that
Sure.
placing those stop signs.
We can certainly do that.
So you could make the motion with the stop sign suggestion or
With the
condition, and then if it
recommendation.
becomes an issue, you can remove it at the county level, the county commission level.
right.
Good idea.
That way, I think that would be the proper way to do it. I think,
Right.
Chrissy, just for the simple, then everybody kind of knows where we're at. And if we get to the point of finding out that that's not feasible or legal to do that,
You can remove that.
then
part.
at the county level, they can approve or disapprove it based on take that motion out,
Take that condition. away.
that condition off, correct?
Now, there's been all kinds of promises back and forth that we aren't gonna include in this motion, but I think it's on record that we have the things that you said you would do. And I don't think they need to be in the motion then.
Pardon me?
I don't think those things need to be in the motion then, like.
Well, those are the conditions, so the conditions should be put into the motion, should they not, or?
Well, it could be technically because it's going to be a township issue.
Oh, that's true.
It could be in addition on the conditions to the township road haul agreement. That would be, and then once we find out if it's legal or not, it would be included in the township road haul because the township is going to be responsible for the signage anyway, so. Once you find out, because you're going through them anyway, so. So I think it could be a condition placed on the road haul agreement. And then the motion could go forward as whoever wants to propose it. If it clears mud.
I'm not real good at making motions. You want to make it?
Well, I don't know, generally it's not feasible for the
Christie,
chairman to
you
make the
can make
motion,
it.
but Christie, go for it.
All right. So do you want me to read through all of these conditions or just the stop sign one?
I think everything else that he's provided us was conditions that we asked for
Mhm.
that they have supplied.
Okay.
Letters, and we have record of all that in here. So basically, the only thing that we're adding to what we already have is the possibility of placing stop signs on 441 and on 306 east of the entrance, facing for stopping westbound traffic.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the permit to mine sand and gravel from an agricultural district as per Article 5, Section 507, with the conditions that the road haul agreement be honored by the applicant. Moving the entrance to 441 North vacated and use the old entrance and the other things mentioned in the maintenance agreement with the township. And that we provide a stop sign to stop westbound traffic on 441 and a stop sign on 306th Street to stop northbound traffic for safety reasons, on the condition that this is legal. And if not legal, then they will remove the stop sign condition at the county commission meeting that this will appear at next. The next county commission meeting.
Second.
Are you clear on that, Bill?
Yeah, we got it on video, so I'll make sure I don't. Unless you want to repeat it.
More eloquently than I.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, now we are at Curtis Oliver. Modified conditional use permit and oversized accessory structure. Applicant is requesting to amend his conditional use permit for an accessory building in a moderate density residential district that exceeds the maximum aggregate square footage of 2,400 square feet per Article 7, Section 707. Applicant wishes to build an accessory structure in a different location than was previously approved and is 1,900 square feet, 15,000 square feet of accessory structures on the site already. Said property is legally described as Lot 4 of Block 3, Law Overlook subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 18, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM. Yankton County, South Dakota. E911 address is 109 Welcome Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Is Mr. Oliver here? Speak for us, please.
Hi, Kurt Oliver, 184 Oak Hills Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. So I guess
Tell us
what,
your plan.
what I'm looking for was the community center that we had approved originally was on the north large building and it was at the west end of it. So at the west end of the current building right now, we have the maintenance shop. So we have phase one completed where it's at right now. We have another phase going to the west once this one's sold out. So we looked at moving the community center from the northeast corner of the existing building down to the southeast corner of the same lot, but at a different location. The lot where the community center is now, that we'd like to build now, is where we actually had approved for the dumpster site. But it just works out better logistically for us and the safety of our clients that we have there now. Because the west end of that whole building is actually storage for all their toys where we could keep our site clean and everything. So they're in and out of that building. So if we can go halfway down the building, build a fence across our storage facility, keep our work area and our maintenance shop separated from the public, that gives them free access and makes it more inviting for them and a lot safer project for us. We actually decreased the size of the community center. It was approved at 3,750 square foot, a 75 by 50. And we went down to just a little bit over 1,900 now. So with that being said, in the front of the community center, we actually have a patio coming out the front of the community center. And that is concrete core plank. And underneath that, we have an entrance for a storm shelter, which incorporates for 100 people, also built into the same community center, which was more convenient for everybody to get access to also. So we're just trying to look at the safety of our people, what we're trying to do. Right to the west of that particular building, that you could see the footings in there where we started. It was my bad. I thought I could just do it. I did the concrete and I come to the point where I needed a building permit, and then I was told that I couldn't do it on a CUP, which I understand now. I didn't know that it was, I couldn't move it on the same piece of property. So that was my bad. So we stopped construction, wait till we go through the process. And if you approve it, then we'll proceed. Otherwise, it's going to become a patio. So at where that's at, it's actually, we have another building approved that'll go to the west of that, 150 foot. So we'll make it nice and neat and clean and as we have with everything else, I think it's a nice site. That's all I have.
Okay. That footing that you're talking about, the Curtis, is that the building that you're talking about adding?
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff going on there, so it's,
Yeah, there's a lot of, where the footings are at is where I was gonna do the building. If I can walk over to the map.
that's the building that you're applying for on the.
Yeah,
the change.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm not very good at maps. Yeah, that's where it was originally approved, on that end of it.
Right.
So we found out better to move it over here. That's the road going up because the west half of that building is storage. So it kind of keeps them right in the corner and keeps them out of where we have equipment going in and out of lawnmowers and all that stuff. So a lot more functional for them, more convenient for them. And actually the garbage, we're gonna, the garbage that's where we had our dumpster site at, where we was gonna build a fence around it. So we're actually moving that to the west end of the building. We planted trees up in there, so it'll be along the side there. And we'll be boxing that in there. We found out they access a lot of garbage, so it's nice to get it back away, because by Sunday night it gets a little smelly. We tried to get them to come out and pick up our garbage on Saturdays and Sundays, they won't, so we requested a Friday, Monday, and then we monitor it from there.
Okay, we will.
Okay,
go from
thank
there.
you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and board, what's your thoughts?
There's no issue on the change in the building based on the approval of resident CUP.
Yeah.
Well, I think plans change and I think this is a logical alternative. I think as you work a business, sometimes things come up and more accessible to the tenants. I can see that. So I think it's a logical, reasonable change. I don't think he's doing anything that would be, less safe. If anything, it appears to be more safe for the residents.
And there's a storm shelter being built too, and it'll be close to.
Right.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I don't, the thing is, we've got, the aggregate square footage becomes an issue, to me is probably the issue as far as how many square feet of building we got there already. And the district that it's in, if it was like Lakeside Commercial or something like that, where you were the biggest issue is going to be, you kind of open the gate if you start.
And this is where, when we were writing this up, it was questionable. So how many square feet originally were you approved for? Do you remember?
We actually had 20,000 on the north and we had 50 by 150 on the south.
So with the square footage he was originally approved for, he could probably move forward with this, but when he wants to do something
Because it's moving
beyond
from a
that,
different location of where you originally started, basically, is what you're gonna still be within the original square
Aggregate.
footage you were approved for. It's not in the same spot.
Yeah,
You have
but if
to
he
move
wants to go forward with the next ones, then we'll have to address the square footage
the
issue.
square footage thing.
Yeah.
We went through quite a lengthy process of that. We're just trying to keep our park clean, on everything.
Right.
But you'll have the plan when that's ready. We can look at that as a whole plan. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at a $380,000 community.
So he's,
We're gonna remember that price when it comes time to appraise it, right?
so you're still under the original aggregate you were approved for. We're just moving to a different location.
Just making a change basically of
Yeah.
We
location.
still have the same setback. We still have all our setbacks around it. We just have it surveyed, the setbacks are there. And it's just moving a dumpster location and replacing it.
In your move, yeah, I would say you're building on the original dumpster location, moving the dumpster location back out of the way, out of sight,
Right.
better.
And it works better. It was my mistake. I mean, should have been drawn in there in the first place. I thought it had everything else.
Doesn't this serve your future plans on the next lot too?
And your storm shelter is in this
Yeah.
proposed new structure here,
Yeah.
so, which is closer access probably than way closer access than what it would have been if it was at the other end of that other building.
It just, if you come to the site, it just functions a lot better. Flow of traffic.
I'd move approval of the request.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're gonna go on to Cheryl Beckman. Conditional use permit. Applicant is requesting conditional use permit for an accessory building on a moderate density residential district that exceeds a maximum aggregate square footage of 2,400 square feet and maximum sidewall height of 14 feet. Applicant wishes to build an accessory structure that is 2,688 square feet with 16-foot sidewalls per Article 7 and Section 707. Said property is legally described as Lot K and Lot L in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 7, Township 93, north, range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. E911 address is 108 Bird Dog Drive, Yankton, South Dakota.
Cheryl
Site-
Beckman.
I'm sorry, the site shows all of this. She just purchased these two lots, so it's actually from about right here to here.
Right, it's gonna be on the, it's gonna be on the south side.
Have a recorder or have it
Right.
to begin with.
Right.
And we were looking at the map, I think that you provided with us as a little
Right, it should
drawn
be
out
right
square
in-
in it. Was a proposed
was
building
there.
site.
Yeah. The map's in there, or it should have been. Yeah, the little square.
That's on there, little rectangle.
Oh,
For some reason, the computer doesn't like it.
I can tell them where on the lot it's gonna be.
I can show you too. I've got-
It'd be
Okay, it's gonna be on this side of the lot.
right.
Just right back here, there, this is all big pine trees. And then this is that storage hill type storage. So it's gonna be on the back side of the lot, so it's not as visible. And the pitch of the roof will be very residential looking, and it'll be behind my house. And it would be 42 by 64. That way I can use 8-foot centers. It makes it more economical for me. And then the door needs to be high enough for me to put my snow removal equipment and my mowers and my boat, jet skis, that type of thing.
And access to the building.
It'll be the same driveway, so it'll go along the south side
on the south
within the covenants. So it'll go back. My garage is on my house will be on the south side, so they won't be facing the street. So you'll come in on the south side and then you'll just keep going back to the building. There'll be one door on the south end. That'll be where you'll go into the building with any kind of equipment or cars or anything like that.
Any other questions from the board?
Any,
For Ms. Beckman?
any neighbors that had any discontent over it?
No, actually, we had our road commission or road district
District.
meeting. And so I was able to have the drawings of the building and everything. They all saw it. So they saw the building, the drawings of my house and the building. And I sent out all the letters and everything. So I have one of my neighbors that's here to the north.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience that'd like to speak on this issue? Seeing none? Close comment. Board, what are you thinking?
Well, I think if the neighbors are not objecting to it, it's not blocking anyone's view. It's a 288-foot variance on the square footage and a 2-foot variance on the sidewall height. So she's not going double past what's accepted in the area. And, you know, everything seems to be getting taller and bigger these days. And, you know, kind of the attitude of go big or go home when it comes to a lot of things. And I'm not, you know, criticizing, but I'm just saying that's kind of a fact of life
Well,
right now.
that was my concern too, is we just approved the new sidewall heights and the new square footage in June of last year.
But we did put in the conditional use process for just this kind of
Right.
thing.
Correct. And that is going to come up again in the next round of ordinance changes. Because like you said, it just seems to be no end to some of these size restrictions. And so we'll address that on the next go around.
We get into especially in that area, not necessarily on that particular site, but you get into visibility issues from surrounding neighbors,
Mhm.
blocking view and.
Right, and that's why, you know, we addressed that. If anybody had a problem with that,
Right.
then you would definitely take that into consideration. Because when somebody puts up a $500,000 house because they want to see the lake and then somebody puts a garage in front of it, that can create issues. But that doesn't appear to be the case here, so.
Gary, you didn't receive or Bill any public,
There were no complaints.
no complaint or any comments at all?
Any other discussion?
Any other discussion? Yeah.
I'll move approval of the request.
For a 288-foot variance on the area and a 2-foot sidewall variance on the height.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Kettering and second by Schultz.
To
Roll call
approve.
vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay. Next issue is Keith Eichhoff. Conditional use permit, applicants requesting conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a moderate residential district. Applicant wishes to build multiple multifamily units per section 7, section 707. Said property is legally described as Lot 1 Drake subdivision in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter, section 17, township 93, range 56 of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. Strike off.
Keith Icoff, 161 Sleepy Hollow Drive in Yankton, representing direct development properties. This plan was approved a number of years ago. There's no change to what was approved back then. It was delayed for a number of reasons, the first being the recession that hit in '08. Probably the other biggest reason is we're not a builder. I've been looking for a builder and we finally have an agreement in place with K Construction. Jason, one of the principals of K, is here. And we have agreement in place to start construction on the first unit this fall.
Questions, I guess, from the board before I ask for public comment or on the site? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to this issue?
I'm Butch Becker, 115 Lewis Trail. I'm a owner off of the northeast corner of that piece of property there, which would be, as the map is turned, to be upper left on that. And I appreciate the fact that you're moving ahead with something, Keith. I was just wondering, I understand from the previous covenants and restrictions would all still be in effect. And that you want to sell these units off, so they'd be sold off as townhouse type units, I understand. Okay, if that be the case, the only issue that might come up for you is the septic system, or if you're gonna have a holding tank or whatever, depending on the size, because the state goes with half acre minimum or 20,000 square feet per unit. But you aren't as, unlike Jim Tramp's townhouses up by the golf course, where each unit is sold off. There's no septic or anything that has to be maintained or setbacks or anything like that up there because it's all on city sewer. That's something that you might run into.
Yeah, I know one of the conditions last time with the council was to have protests on the property.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the deeding of it later on. I might want to buy one and I'd like to know this. So, but no, other than that, dividing them up like, down the middle of a townhouse with a 2-hour firewall and everything, in effect, there'd be no problem with that. That's the way they are up above, but they discharge into city sewer and you're gonna have to handle that in the setbacks, and it gets pretty skinny on some of the sidelines and the back lines and stuff. And still maintaining distance from other properties and from your own unit, so.
Especially if all the ones that are on Highway 52, there's quite a bit of frontage. For those units where we're probably gonna battle the setbacks and stuff will be those 2 units that are to the furthest to the north.
But so everything else is gonna be common association. Each unit will have its own, but I mean, as far as the area is gonna be a common area. But when you come to deed it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Randy Golden, 110 Primrose Lane. We own the home that's kind of over to the west and north, just a little bit of the property here. So one of the concerns, or not a concern, just a question is, there was a topic years ago about bringing the water system through. And I'm kind of curious where the water's coming from on the BY system.
Well, since the original application, BY has put another 10-inch parallel line on 52. believe it was 10-inch alongside that. So they've changed the elevation requirements. So all the, everything on there, on those units will come directly off that main line on Highway 52.
Okay,
The only ones that may be a concern are not part of this application are lots because the elevation. One of the units in the 1 acre lots in the back may require a pump to storage pressure tank system to provide water to the house.
okay. One of the other questions I was wondering, would you have or ability to show us what the 3D model would look like of the units?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. We're trying to have that proposed.
Okay. Okay, any kind of square footage
1,600 is
per side?
1,600 with a basement, walkout basement, so including the basement, it's about 3,200 square feet per side.
Okay, brick, stone, vinyl, siding?
Right now, the plan is to have kind of a wood look, probably smart siding, and then kind of a wood effect, something that blends into the area.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much my questions. How about, are you limiting to, like I know Oliver was up here, he's got it set up so it's 55 years and older and no kids. What's the setup down there?
We're gonna encourage kids, we're gonna ask them to come west of the playground, to the slope by your house.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. How about dogs? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll close public comment. Any questions from the board about where we're going and what we're doing? I think, the issues, I guess, and I'm not sure, but you said that when Mr. Golden was questioning you about what the actual buildings look like, that is not, you don't have that available.
We're not that far along yet.
Okay.
These guys are working on a building plan, and they're gonna have a PowerPoint presentation at the council meeting, and we're showing the general construction and vision of what they're gonna do.
And they'll basically, the units that you're showing on our map here now will be fed by BY as far as water system.
The front 6 units will all come directly off of the line that runs, there's 2 parallel lines that run on the north side of Highway 52. Those will be fed directly off of there, and then a water line that comes up and feeds those top, the 1, 2 to the north units. At the same time, we'll feed those 1 acre lots. North is on the left. Yeah, the left. North is not there, north is not up.
And you're,
North is toward the empty lots, right? According to this map.
and you're totally
I turned
comfortable.
it sideways, but
This
it's,
is north.
so those lots up there, that would be north, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
This is 52 right here. Highway 52.
Highway 50 is right there, yeah.
It's good to know.
I don't think there's a way I can rotate it over here. No, maybe let's see. There it is.
Change the world.
Makes sense now.
You're totally comfortable with the issues on the septic systems.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to get protest on the stuff.
They're gonna have to meet state guidelines or they won't be able to get a building. So,
Guys, usually we can just put a condition. that we need the DA.
Yeah, everything's based off of the conditions that meets all the requirements as far as septic system and all that stuff, so.
I think it'll make a tremendous tax base for Yankton.
Sure won't hurt.
Pardon me, Butch.
The other conditions, covenants and restrictions will still apply from your conditional, they're still with the land.
Right. Anybody have a notion?
Yes,
I would like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for multifamily housing and moderate rural residential district as presented. Or
Or
Mr.
second?
Keith Akoff.
Second.
Second by Kathy.
Second by Kathy Weiss, motion by Christie. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
You want to do the plots next and then we'll do the campground thing? Okay. Okay, plots. Plot of Lot A, Block 2, Lot Overlook subdivision in the northeast quarter, Section 18, Township 93 North, 56 West of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota.
everything's normal and standard. Everything's good.
Question? Your motion to approve?
I'll make a
Move it.
motion.
Down?
Either one.
You gonna fight over it?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay,
Who made the,
motion by Hoffman, second by Kettering. Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Okay, plot of Lot 13 of Block 4, Law Overlook subdivision in the southeast quarter of Section 7 and the northeast quarter of Section 18, Holland. Township 93 North, 56 West of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Don,
Roll call.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Okay, plot of Lot 4, Whitetail Run in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 16, Township 93 North, Range 56 West of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota.
I'll make a motion to approve the plat as presented.
I'll second.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Okay, now. This is the checklist that came about because of all campgrounds we're getting.
Correct. So as Mr. Evans said, he had approached the chair and vice chair about trying to help out with the RV parks any way that he could, and he suggested a checklist, which we thought was a good idea also. And so we put that together with his notes and just wanted to run it past you, and then we'll run it past county commission also, just to see if everybody thinks this would be a good thing to use for future RV parks, and we'll go from there.
On the electric and sewer and water that be installed by a licensed installer, is there someone to say South Dakota, Nebraska, or a valid license? I mean, I don't want to see it caught in somebody shows, hey, here's my license, but it's no longer valid. So I don't know how tight that needs to be, but I think there's just a little bit of cleanup in that. Probably the best one, yeah. I mean, I know sometimes you have to reach across, but.
Sometimes things are assumed, but that's.
Right, and he can be a licensed contractor in Nebraska, but he has to also be certified in South Dakota, so that would be my.
That's a good point. We'll make that change.
So So our discussions on most of these facilities has been around what conditions we want to put on. Do we want to list possible conditions in here? So that they know trees, they know.
Downcast lighting.
Seems like
it's different every time, so I don't know if we want to list that on the checklist. I think what we're aiming for here is more just what kind of things they should plan on providing for the meeting.
Right.
But I would like to have them thinking about those other things.
Well-
We can certainly talk to them about that.
The first number one, it says include their ingress egress location and type of lighting and signs, screening and fencing. So they should address all that, and then you can make recommendations or changes.
That's always questions that we bring up
Yeah.
when they come
Okay.
about
Mhm.
fencing,
Thanks, Bill.
visibility, especially,
That are site specific. you
yeah,
know.
right, and that'll all make a difference that way.
Pretty much covers it in that first
Yeah.
paragraph.
Sherry, I'm sorry, I missed your point about what was,
If we could, and this one's farther down in below 7, it has electric to be done by a licensed installer and then sewer and water by licensed installers. I just need some way to say they are truly valid licenses. and
Well, you
still-
just.
So we're gonna identify
squeeze
South Dakota.
South Dakota in there,
South
just
Dakota.
South Dakota licensed installer.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be easy enough to fix, I think. That's a
Good
good
point.
point.
And I know that we always ask that they'll be issued a 911 address, but can we make a point that actually stick it in the ground and put the sign up? Yeah, that part is harsh. I know everyone wants to do it, but seldom it's done, and that is a problem.
That the first paragraph includes all of those things that I think I mentioned, but the word should, the third word in the paragraph, the word should.
You want it more,
Will. Will or must.
You're either gonna do it or you aren't gonna do it.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's either will or
Will.
must.
Yeah.
Will. Will sounds more diplomatic.
Say they come and they want a permit. Checklist, all the stuff, set structures, the exact size, they change. Add this, you might have to start that.
well, and I think there's a lot of the things that we deal with at a checklist would be a great thing, because even like the concrete materials thing, when they came in with the first meeting, I mean, they had basically nothing. I mean, they didn't have any road plan or any site plan or anything like that. And, so it's frustrating 3 meetings or 4 meetings before you finally get to that, any point of,
That happened with lot 11 at Whitetail Road, just Jerry Myon's place up there.
yep,
I know he didn't show up to 1 or 2 meetings. His first plan. and
Right.
That stuff. So it would have saved him time and the county time. So there's, it's not what you need. I even approached him after that and said, here's my plan, this is. what we want."
yeah.
I think we can check this. I think all of our things together, that she's come up with some great.
I think it's a good plan for probably several other things we can look at, in some of these deals where, like this last issue and some of these others, there's a lot of pieces involved to put it together. It's kind of on the applicant's shoulders to provide that information, and the quicker you supply it, the faster we can get through.
Right.
Well, and it helps them too to stay on track.
Exactly.
But there are,
You
Right.
get one thing and then they say, no, come back next month. you know?
excuse me, but there are times when it's citizen driven too, and
Oh, yeah.
and that's why, yeah, if we can have a basic checklist, but you're never gonna cover on, especially
everything, no.
on some of these, you'll never cover everything that may come up in the meeting, so.
Right.
Other people that didn't know about the excavation, you know, excavation. That's been forever. That's been the standard, and they just didn't know. The states in there, this is required. The whole thing triggered this for me. Somebody on Facebook saying Martin parks are put in their drain fields. There's no poison water, and I know that's not true. I've seen all of these put in. As far as like most, whether it's mine or Conditional or whoever. Like I watch it because I like to see how they're built and stuff. Helps me with plans. Maybe they do something a little bit different. Like there's rumors going around saying that they're not being built right, and if the county knows, hey, they handed in their DER permit for excavation. This is an approved plan filed from DER that matches their site plan. All with the county, and as a citizen, say, no, you follow the checklist to a T. Everything perfectly right, so nobody can say anything bad about their RV parks. And it's not just me, it's everybody. Like, I think it's a great thing. Then we get a bad name, I don't want everybody to do what they're supposed to.
Do we need to do any kind
You can just make a recommendation that we.
to move it on, move it forward?
With your suggested changes.
And I would just add a line about other items as later determined. As a catch-all or something else we might not think.
And it's kind of a living document where there might be things that come up that you want to change or add, you know, as we go, but it's a good, really good starting point, you know. to
The
go.
good part is this has to take so many meetings. So just recommendations for conditions. Say, mention all. On the condition that everything on the checklist.
Yeah.
And that way it covers all bases, like Gary said, it's very hard with all the stuff. So if you just add to the checklist, still all you have to say on the condition that everything on the checklist is met.
Any other questions? Matt, I do have a question for you, though. At what point do you think the saturation point is for RV parks down on Highway 52?
I don't think it's gonna be.
There's a high demand for that.
Okay, so.
Anyways.
I think a bike. So, I sold out my RV.
Well, and I understand that the,
I'm building on it again. Model record.
yeah,
Just bought the barn over there. So you guys, like, my place, I have the lake one also. That's another housing development out there. You know, I've heard it tons of times before. Everybody else do it. Fisherman, I don't see stuff. I can't fish on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. It's just
Yeah.
what our city thrives off of. All of the town business. Trying to keep things that come up. Taxes, and I get that, I understand. But, I really try to keep it all. Like with Jerry Lance, I just won't make sure like it doesn't get built.
Everybody has to follow the same rules.
Something else like that from my part. Helps everybody. I was trying to help them, and they never called me back or anything. I was just want everything done right, so you don't have to come back.
I have a concern, I guess, or thought about it several times because I can remember back in the seventies when Jim Trent first built those condos on the hill, and then over the winter months, the sewage from the one above him was coming down on somebody's lawn in the back. Was surfacing out there, and at some point, you know, of course, that's shale and different type of situation, but you put, you know, 10,000 people in the sand down there that close to the river, that's got to go someplace too.
So, like, with the DEMR, they're very, very strict as far as chambers that get put in, how long they got. DEMR has a rule. Okay, that says basically no harm, no foul. Anybody, you know,
Yeah.
that's it. So they say they put it on the county. That's the county deal. They want stuff done. So with this checklist, if they have a hidden, it has to match, like during my house, they had 17-foot backspaces. I brought it up at the meeting, but to read actual space that you need, separation, you have to be 10 feet away from the wall. You have to be no gravel over the top of the drain field, stuff like that. It has to be 30 feet wide. I brought it up at the meeting. The plan would have to change. If I'm right, it's possible I'm wrong. Anything's possible. The plan would have to change this. On each of the back sites is gonna have. There, if they know, like in this instance here, if they submitted a plan, this costs no money whatsoever. If you submit the plan to DNR, and say, this is my plan, and then they say, well, the chamber size, and this, none of this has to be engineered as far as septic plan stuff. Water has to be, which is, and then if you have over 20 sites, it's works of sanitary significance. So it has to be engineered. The same with sewer. The connection that goes into. So I understand where Jerry's coming from and everybody else, where they don't want to spend thousands of dollars on it. But the plan to be submitted to so they can make the plan, like we have to send you guys, submit to the DNR, even before the process. Then they say, DNR says, okay, your separations are good, your field blanks are good. They would have to do a perk test on the property, but that's very. Sit there and watch the water. See how much
Disappear,
it
yeah.
rains, and that costs them stuff else. So they have that plan. Everything should match up. If they have a stamp approval on there that says, we're good to go, then you know it's gonna work. So we don't have to go back again. Because they did 17-foot back. There's a lot of stuff in here. What we've done here, but kind of you guys got from my part in February, I was required to have the fence built. So technically that was 6 months in the summertime, so now it's built. Other parts that.
Yeah.
So. Checklist that said everything, like I couldn't get my new park built right away. So the condition that was made at the county level was get it built right away. First time a camper gets pulled in there, you have 1 year to put next year, the year after. So that was a great condition. I put that in here also.
that we required 2 sides.
I have to look back.
Remember the west side deal we talked about was their private road. So they took that out. The neighbor doesn't want it. So that private, it's, I think to have. As far as the fence goes, like my house can be complete. I don't want. That little bit of money to make whitetails, his fence over there. I think it is great for our neighbor, lots of neighbors. I've probably small fence there. I can see, hey, you got campers coming from that place, or they're too loud or something. But it's screening kids in the.
Okay. So thank you for your input. I think at this point, we need to call it a day. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Hoffman,
Thanks for your offer and your
I'll
help.
second it.
All those in favor?
All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, and I
Thank
won't
you.
be here next month.